Phil Donahue died. The guy died. For those of you that were born after the 2000 .com crash, why did he was a TV guy, one of the bravest men in history. No, I don't know about that, but he was long talk show host, very comforting voice. Phil Donahue. I haven't impersonated him since my teen years in the 90s, but the guy was also like a progressive sort of holdout or a stalwart. Is that the right word? But he stood out. Not that he was slinging his lefty bullshit everywhere, but he was an accepting person who was a part of the world that kind of made it okay for people to be who they are, a little bit closer towards the expression of humanity that we all are striving for, not just the narrow conceptions of conformity that our culture demands. So just a couple of things, and then we're going to watch a video of him. It says, R.I.P. This is Paul Rudnick, New York. R.I.P. Phil Donahue, who supported feminist and LGBTQ causes long before such things became fashionable. He stayed curious and compassionate and used his talk show to explore every facet of life. Fun fact, he employed legendary street photographer Vivian Mayer as a nanny. That's interesting. What if he said he employed a legendary nanny as a photographer? Wouldn't that have been more fun? One of the most notable things is that where he got kicked out of MSNBC for raising anti-war perspectives on TV, or NBC, I think, MSNBC, which kind of speaks back to what I was saying a little bit earlier about like it takes a village to do a genocide. The media companies are complicit. The power structures are all complicit with the way. And so if you speak up against war and America killed 1 million Iraqis over there, George W. Bush should be rotting in a prison cell somewhere for war crimes if we lived in a just world, something even close to just world. But instead, people like Phil Donahue, the time around the Iraq war was an absolute just frenzy of nationalistic freak out. It was really scary. It was very and the media environment still was kind of like the last sort of era of television dominance. I mean, still, I think there's a large degree online or news dominance, news and TV. Those things have shifted online to a major point. They're still rooted deeply in the palace of power, but the internet has definitely come along and disrupted so much of that. But in the mid 2000s, people didn't have we had email and we had really horrible photos on our phones, but nothing like the smartphones and the videos and the social media, nothing like any of that, or the podcasts and et cetera, et cetera. So Sharon Zhang says, R.I.P. Phil Donahue. His words about his 2003 firing from MSNBC because of his opposition to the Iraq war still ring true today. Quote, they were terrified of the anti-war voice. This is Phil Donahue. Well, I think what happened to me, the biggest lesson, I think, is how corporate media shapes our opinions and our coverage. This was a decision, my decision. The decision to release me came from far above. This was not an assistant program director who decided to separate me from MSNBC. They were terrified of the anti-war voice, and that is not an overstatement. Anti-war voices were not popular, and if you're General Electric, you certainly don't want an anti-war voice on a cable channel that you own. General Electric was a defense contractor. Not sure exactly the current corporate status, and I think Comcast owns MSNBC now, but a defense contractor that owns media, just like Elon Musk. It should be illegal for any entity that does business with the government to also own media. Separate those. Anyway, back to Phil Donahue. Donald Rumsfeld is your biggest customer. So he was the Secretary of Defense, also like the head of a bunch of defense agency or defense companies, I think, after he left. Just a scoundrel. Donald Rumsfeld was one of the worst people in the history of the world. So almost as bad as as Kissinger sets a high bar, but he was like a Kissinger sort of figure. Evil, 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 evil. Donald Rumsfeld is your biggest customer. So, by the way, I had to have two conversations on, or two conservatives on for every liberal. I could have Richard Pearl. I could have Richard Pearl on alone, but I couldn't have Dennis Kucinich on alone. I was considered two liberals. I think it might be a typo. It really is funny almost when you look back on how the management was just frozen by the anti-war voice. We were scolds. We weren't patriotic. American people disagreed with us, and we weren't good for business. Man, just really. And then a guy actually first comment relates it to Mehdi Hassan getting canceled, getting fired recently for his advocacy for Palestinian rights and lives. So the media is in on it. The media is part of it. These companies, like, look at what they did too. What did we accomplish with Iraq? What did we do? We murdered a million people. We devastated infrastructure. We killed 6,000 American troops. We ran torture camps. We ran, you know, the humiliation and degradation that existed in those places. Some of it became scandalous, but of course we end up with, you know, I don't have the picture here, but you know, Michelle Obama and George W. Bush canoodling at McCain's funeral and giving each other, you know, little Ricola candies. What if that was like an advertising opportunity for Ricola? What if my podcast I go Ricola? Sorry. Ricola. Sorry, Ricola, don't sue me. So it's completely. So, you know, they rehabilitate the war criminals, they discipline, but before they do that, they discipline the society, the cultural and the social power of media to prevent people from hearing voices, just the words. That's how scary information is to powerful people. Why, you know, despots go after people who can read, or why the conservatives in America are going after the Department of Education, and all the kinds of ways that an educated, informed, and I would argue far more important, well, not far more importantly, but arrested. This is why I advocate for the 4-day work week, or for time to be returned to humans, is because we need to be rested. The exhaustion that's baked into the system of overwork is probably the biggest way that they keep people from rising up. They just keep you busy and tired, and what time and money you do have on the side, you just, you know, park it in front of the TV or go on some stupid vacation or buy yourself some bullshit, as opposed to like truly rested, truly healthy, truly safe community. Predictable security means that you can rise up or start organizing, run for office yourself. So honestly, I think all the whole, if I were in charge of the left, which, come on, like and subscribe. If we get me to 1,000 subscribers, we will. But if I were in charge, I would direct everybody to do 4-day work week, like a cultural shift, not just like a piecemeals here and there. And I know it's not an easy thing to switch over, but we switch from 6 to 5. And if we switch from 5 to 4 and in substantial and huge ways, it would liberate people from the exhaustion regime. And it doesn't even take a big percentage. A tiny sliver of people would be able to, would then be able to have the energy to stand up and fight this stuff. My point being that just information is enough for the powers that be to be scared and to kick this guy off, who was a very popular, famous, you know, respected voice in American letters. Why did I say letters? I was thinking, you know, that thing where it's like, this in American letters, like people who write, that's like PBS. Wow, what I fucked up the end of that comment. Donahue here, checking Ayn Rand after she spewed some vile stereotypes about Palestinians. They don't make talk show hosts like this anymore. Take a listen.
Your characterization of the situation in the Middle East came down rather gratuitously and in a very angry way on the Arabs, and without discussing the merits of either side in a most complicated and painful collision of cultures and peoples in our world. Why couldn't the millions of men, women, and children who are Arab and who find themselves in this desperate conflict and look around wondering where peace will be, why can't they be angry with you for your characterization of them, your slap at them, your roundhouse criticism of them, when you don't seem to be able to tolerate a questioner who suggests that she disagrees with you? Characterization is, you do not accept any criticism unless you level it. Your characterization.
That's an interesting setup too. This environment's fascinating. I want to find this whole video. I want to look up where Ayn Rand. Maybe I'll try to remember to do that. Let me write that down, because I will not. Ayn Rand. That she's a fascinating figure in the discourse too. I know it's super easy just to start throwing the insults around, but I think there's something fascinating about that whole story. I read The Fountainhead at a younger age, not even really understanding much of the politics that were going on. But all right, Ayn Rand. What the fuck? Look at my note. My note sucks. That's bullshit. On Donahue. Come on, Hank. Come on, Hank. Use your paper. So, well, good for him. And look how annoyed she gets when she like lifts up her hand right here.
Criticism of them. When you don't seem to
Dude, don't you understand there's different sets of rules based on who you are in this world? That's the world that she's trying to defend. Come on, you dickhead. So good for him, man. And that goes way back. This is like 80s. That microphone is one of them old ass microphones. I don't know when that was. Interesting. Maybe we'll do a follow-up.